We've got a doozy of an episode for y'all this week. We start off the episode with a solid little recap of what was going on in the mountain towns for Burro days. Then we dive into Chris's run through Mexico City. 48 hours, 72 hours, they did it right. Then we talk about the news, the atom bomb that was dropped on the industry with the story by Thomas Mitchell in the Denver Westward. Check it out if you want to look into it. The cannabis section, you'll see it right there. And then we finish it up with Eve facts and 30 or 5 minutes of movie talk about what actually qualifies as a good movie. And is Kip just a smooth brained idiot? All on today's episode, presented by Breckenridge Distillery's Reeky Seltzers, the drink of the summer.
The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Room.
Oh,
But
all right,
anyways,
let's get to the episode.
yeah.
Welcome
Thank you.
back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Stoned Appetit with your host, as always, it's me, Kip. Across the computer, I have the bilingual CB. How are you, CB?
I'm feeling a lot better than I thought I would after a hectic travel day on my return from Mexico City. But other than that, I'm doing fantastic.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. And Queen Eve is over there on the ones and twos. Eve, how was your weekend?
I can't complain.
Well, that's for once. We have a kick-ass episode for y'all this week, brought to you by our sponsors. I'm too fucking exhausted. My brain hurts. My back hurts. I've had a fucking whirlwind of a couple days between fielding grenades in the industry, being at home, and then not having a vacation as some. And then you sprinkle in a little car trouble and 4 hours of traffic, and you got yourself a very angry Kip at today's episode. Y'all ready to get into this shit?
Yes.
Chris,
Yep.
do our ad reads while I drink.
Yeah, I
straight
was
from
gonna
the
say-
bottle.
I was gonna say something to ease the tension and loosen your mind a little bit. You can always reach for a product from our great friends over at Breckenridge Distillery. I mean,
is
they
very
got
true.
rum, whiskey, bourbon, vodka, and they've got an award-winning tap room, and you can find them in virtually all liquor stores across Colorado. So support a local award-winning distillery and enjoy some hooch.
Yeah, and don't forget our friends over at Ritual Colorado. It's a crazy time to be in Colorado, and we're glad we have friends in the industry that are doing things the right way. Shout out to Patrick and the fam over there, 2521 Sheridan Boulevard. They've got glass no matter if you're a connoisseur or a casual consumer. We had a giveaway going for them this week, but with the litany of other things we've been flagged for in the last couple days, it's starting all to make sense. But you know what else makes sense? Partnering up with Ritual. I'm going to fucking pack my bong so deep when we get out of this episode. I'm going to eat 75 milligrams of edibles and I'm going to nuke my brain. But shout out to Ritual.
Yeah, I'm interested. You got a lot of pent-up aggression for good reason on several different topics.
Yeah. So before we dive in, I think everybody knows, and a lot of folks are probably tuning in because of the article about Denver cracking down on marijuana events and venues posted by Thomas Mitchell, one of Chris's colleagues at the Westward. He will actually be on the podcast with me tomorrow. We're going to have a double dipper this week. I know we're one day behind, but Thomas wrote an article today about things that are going on in the community. And we're going to dive deep into that. We're going to talk to him about the article that dropped, but what recently happened is we have some fucking narcs in our community. But before we get into that, y'all better have some fucking quality stories to tell me about y'all's weekend so that this is not just an hour of Kip on a soapbox talking about the shitty people that we happen to have in our, I guess, industry. So let's start with Eve. Eve, tell me about those donkeys you were partying with this weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. I think I'm gonna go next year. But yeah, I watched the little donkey race in the morning, and
Well, no,
Shasta was
start
the
from the
winner.
beginning. Start from the beginning. What did you
What?
do? Where did you go? Who is
Oh,
your daddy and
sorry.
what does he do?
Well, I went to Fair Play, Burro Fest. That was this weekend on Saturday. And I got up there early at like 10:30 because that's when the llama race was. It was about 20 minutes and they run around. And yeah, they hung around for a little bit. You can walk around. Some you could pet, although they were kind of like people had a lot of dogs there, and it doesn't seem like llamas really like dogs, and some dogs don't really like llamas. So that seemed like a bad combo.
I think
And
llamas
some
are just cunts in general. If I recall, they're not nice.
Yeah,
Chris, you remember when Corinne came on the podcast? She has a pet llama named Tupaca, I think is what his name. He was an alpaca, I guess. Never mind.
okay. Do llamas spit like alpacas do? I'm
I
asking
think they
you, Pete.
spit.
They don't
Me?
spit. Yeah,
Are they
you
swallowers? Is that what
I
we're
didn't-
saying?
I didn't see any spit, but I thought llamas spit, but I didn't witness any doing that.
Okay, so we don't have a second spitter in the words of Newman and Kramer. But that's okay. That's okay. So now let's dive back into what you were talking about. Who won? And
Shasta.
what did Shasta win? Like a race?
I don't
or
think they win.
the
They just win the
ugliest
race.
animal? Yeah, like
No,
tell us about
he won the race, and then Pfeff was the second place winner. And then I heard them talking about it. I guess he like might have fallen during the race or something, but he got up or
Oh,
I didn't
sweet. So
see
this
it.
is much better than, horse racing at Santa Anita where they would just put it away and put it down right then and there. That's
No.
much cooler.
No, no one was hurt because they kind of
To
like
your
run around
knowledge.
the town, I guess.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I think I hung around, but
Look, I grew up in a house of a lot of competition and athletes. If you don't win, you may not see all of the bad things that go on after a loss, but they can happen.
yeah, I believe it. But it seemed like more like just like a fun race. A lot of people running the llamas were wearing like funny costumes and outfits and stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun.
Did
Okay,
you
so
wear
the
a funny outfit or costume?
I didn't know that was a thing, but I didn't have a llama. It seemed like people who had llamas, they had like teams of people that ran with the llama.
So we
And,
need to get a llama in the race next year is what you're saying?
yeah. Yeah.
All right,
And
well,
you
we'll
can. I think you just have to have a llama. And
We'll
you
use Chris's Christmas bonus to buy the team a llama.
what do we think? What do we think the going rate is on a really solid, well, physically versed llama?
Eve, while we're talking about that, will
I
you
don't
also
know.
do a little digging and see how much the average llama costs to adopt?
sure
Thank you.
to
Um,
adopt. I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, adopt.
I don't know if you could adopt. You probably have to buy them. You
Yeah,
know?
that's what we mean by adopt. You
Yeah.
don't think like that's what you don't just get an adopted person or animal. You have to pay for them. Also, shout out to Puppy DJ. He's going on a home vacation this weekend. He's going to meet another family. So keep your fingers crossed. While we do love DJ in our house, 3 dogs is a lot. We're going through like twice as much dog food. I have half as much energy, and he has 3 times as much energy as our other dogs. So while Eve is continuously looking up the cost of a llama, I'll do a casual plug for our boy DJ and Underdog Rescue. Eve, you got a fact for me?
Well, it looks like they can cost anywhere from 300 to as much as 5,000.
I say we go.
Middle of the pack?
Let's budget.
Middle of the alpaca?
Let's budget 1,000 for a llama. I think we can get a good, decent llama. So quick question on the racing.
point.
So the owner is like running them on like kind of like a leash.
Yeah.
So the speed of the owner kind of hinders could hinder a llama winning.
That's a very good observation,
It-
Chris.
It could, but from what I saw, the llamas set the pace because there was one llama who didn't really want to run, and they were kind of pulling on him, and he was like, "Nope." He just kind of like
Oh.
trotted and he stopped. So like, I think it's really up to the llamas, not really up to the people.
Okay. Well, we could train our llama to run.
Who's gonna run with it? Not me.
Chris he used to jog when we lived together, so it's Chris's job.
There you go.
Okay, but what about, so at this festival, what about the food? What kind of food did they have?
They had
I
a mix.
saw
They had,
you
like,
eating. I saw you
Yeah.
eating out there.
yeah, I got some fries, some street fries, with chicken and pesto. They had some like I think they had some like catfish. I saw like a catfish truck or something. I didn't try it. They had some funnel cakes, classic festival food.
Why
They
didn't you-
randomly,
Why
what?
didn't you try the catfish?
because I'm not an expert catfish person,
Okay,
know enough.
well, would you say that the chicken pesto street fries were fuckworthy?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did you have fun? Overall, rate the weekend out of 10. We use decimals here.
I'd say the festival was an 8.5.
Okay.
Ooh.
And then the food, the chicken pestos.
An 8.
Okay. We
Just
use
because it was kind of expensive. So that
That's a-
kind of annoyed me.
that's an 8.0 for those that are listening at home. We're still working on the whole Eve thing and numbers, but we're getting there slowly but surely. Eve, I'm proud of you getting out there, out of your comfort zone, hanging out with a bunch of llamas and stuff. That's what's up. Chris, I know you had a pretty busy weekend as well. Why don't you go ahead and debrief the community about what the hell you were doing in Mexico and why this episode isn't a day late, because it's 100% your fucking fault.
It is my fault, and it's more a fault of the airlines.
Well, don't blame commercial business anymore, Chris. I don't want to hear it. Which airline did you fly? Spirit?
Aero Mexico.
I don't know who they're affiliated with, but I don't feel like there's anybody that's getting an actual flight out on time these days. But besides travel woes, and you obviously being 100% to blame if any of our sponsors pull out for not being on time, tell us a little bit about what the weekend was about or what you did.
Yeah, so the weekend was a celebration of a friend's 40th birthday party, and what a great idea to wrangle up some groups of people to head down and celebrate your birthday in another country. And while it is like, apparently the Mexican peso is getting a little bit higher in value these days, so your deals aren't quite as good. That being said, you can survive on $10 in Mexico City and eat like a king.
Well, that's a little different. Like, yes, for 10 US dollars, you can eat a multitude of meals, but to eat like a king and go to these, the gentrified areas, everything is at least $25 in person. That's
Right.
You got to be fair. Like Contramar, y'all did a fucking black tie
Well,
dinner. That's not $10, but the taco scene is like $1 a pop.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
Okay, yeah.
Can do that.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, this was my second time visiting that great city, and it's just like, it's so big, you really need multiple trips to see everything, and even then you can't get to everything.
It's impossible. And like, even if you're like, oh, like, I remember I went in around December and you gave me a laundry list of great spots to check out, as did a multitude of other folks. And even if you're there for 2 fucking weeks, navigating between 25-cent tacos and $200, world top 50s, you'll still not be able to cover the whole gamut, whether you're going high end or classico. It's impossible. Like, we're going to have to do this for your 40th, my 40th, and Eve's 40th in 20 years to be able to clip that list of dank ass spots that people keep recommending. It's so good.
But yeah, and the best thing was this time I was able to knock off a couple of spots that I didn't get to see first.
Really?
So starting off with Lardo, which is like, it was like a block and a half away from our Airbnb in Roma Norte, which we all know it's like the hip hop spot. There's lots of great restaurants around there, just a really cool scene. But yeah, I went to this place called Lardo, and it's more known for like its breakfast.
Yeah.
So like breakfast sandwiches, pastries, fucking we had this fig croissant, which was exceptional, and then this like round roll filled with guava and ricotta.
Oh,
And like for you know,
Rosetta had that too. That's literally what made me drop to my knees and like start fellatioing the gods of bread. It was
dude, and
their pastry game.
the guava fruit, like it's something I don't really ever eat all that often. Like, I mean, shit, this was probably the first time I've had it in. I can probably count how many times I've had it in my lifetime on one hand. So that being said, the fruit is sweet and it's got a really unique flavor, and it was fucking banging. And then we asked the server for her recommendation, and we had this spicy chorizo on their house-made ciabatta bread. And
Oh,
it was so goddamn good. And what was so nice about it was this ciabatta bread wasn't like thick and dense. It was really light, airy, and crispy. It was fucking dynamite.
say it with me. Ciabatta,
Ciabatta.
not ciabatta. It's not growing fucking flowers in on your nightstand. You remember the chia pet?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Sorry, I was like, it's not a ciabatta, is it? Because
No,
I
you're
worry,
right.
because you're
Ciabatta.
supposed to be the food guy. I'm the smart one, and then Eve is the one that keeps us inside our brains. So you got to be the food guy, like the porchetta thing. It fucks me up every time. I got to be able to lean on you, Chris, for proper pronunciations and enunciations for the pod. So ciabatta, lardo fucks hard.
Yeah, I got to stop taking dialed in edibles before podcasts. I just got to eliminate that.
I just ate 40 milligrams of Incredibles, and I washed it down with about 6 ounces of liquor store from the corner wine. So if that tells you where I am, I'm just keeping myself at bay. But let's talk a little bit more. So obviously you were there for a couple of days. It wasn't just Breckies. What else did you tackle? I saw you hit up a couple of museums.
Yeah, I mean, the museums down there are fantastic. And I had to go back to the Anthropology Museum just because it's one of the coolest, not only buildings, but in terms of like all the artifacts and shit that they have, it's incredible. So like that's got to be a must do on everybody's first visit to Mexico City. Other than that, we talked to our Airbnb host, and he pointed us in the direction to a taqueria we should try. So we went to this one. He said like the tacos are great, but they're really known for their sauces. And he's like, it started out as just one shop, and now it's grown up to like 5 or 6 shops throughout Mexico City.
Oh, hot damn.
It was Taqueria Orinoco, and I'm probably butchering that, but it sounded good.
No, I mean, it sounds delicious. And if anyone, it's kind of like what our friend Wendy Lynn, who lives in France, obviously mentioned in the past. It's that if you care so much about this, then we know that everything from that upward, you take that same amount of pride. So like if you give a shit about your salsas or your sauces, it's the same as the person that cares about their bread game is going to also care about their wine program. Like it's reciprocal in that if you care in this capacity for this, then I would expect you to do that, have that same level of love and attention for the whole menu or the whole gamut. And like you said, I mean, I don't know what the franchise game is like down in Mexico City with my one trip experience, but to have 5, meaning that you ain't just some random taco near a Subway, which by the way, that's where you find the best fucking tacos. Those
Yeah, that's all fuck.
Like the plates that have condoms on them. They're like, just eat it right off the condom. Don't worry, we'll take care of the rest. But like if you have 5 or even like 3 locations, it means you're doing something fucking right.
But don't you just love that fact about the city is you can walk by anytime during the day, preferably later in the afternoon, but there's going to be thousands of little taco stands just posted on street corners with people just sitting on buckets or little plastic tables, just getting tacos and just having a blast, shooting the breeze. And it's fucking fantastic to see it and smell that food all day, basically. That's
I mean, I couldn't agree more. We had a friend that we were seeing, we hung out with while we were in Mexico last time, and she called it Jungle Paris because it's that same like camaraderie that's built around let's have a cocktail or let's have a meal together. But at the same time, oh, I've got somewhere to be. I can swing through. I'll make a point to grab food en route. But it's not like, oh, I'm just going to eat whatever's on the corner like a fucking 7-Eleven roller dog. We're not discriminating against their hot dogs, just the roller machines that are always fake. That I think is a great kind of like they mirror each other and that they care for their arts and their culture and their food, and they take a lot of pride in that. And the community does as well. So I think you're spot on. Like it's the whole community is built around camaraderie, families, eating together, stay together and things like that. That's why I still watch Seinfeld, because that's the only family we have left.
right. But another thing I realized, which I guess I didn't really take that much note on my first time, but is like the amount of trees and just nature that is weaved throughout the city.
Oh
like
yeah, it's Jungle Paris.
That's why it doesn't get super, super fucking hot when you're walking the streets. You're basically covered by trees. It's fucking fantastic. And there's trees throughout restaurants and stuff like that. It's incredible. But back to food. So we did a couple like dinners with the birthday group, like where the parties were being thrown, which were great, but want to highlight some of the local spots, like different, more like just going out in the neighborhood. We didn't go to Rosetta like you and Mo did.
But I mean, you did Lardo, and that's in that same camp.
Yeah, and that breakfast may have been like $20.
Yeah, right. And that's like you got one of everything.
Yeah, and coffee and all that. But then we went to the Rosetta's little bakery outside. So we picked up a chocolate concha there, which was fucking great. And then later on that night, we visited a badass cocktail bar. It was a blast.
Ooh, tell me more. Was that the Hanky Panky?
Yeah. So dude, we were walking by there. We had like an Uber drop us off, and we were sitting there like looking for this thing, and these people walked by and they're like, "Are y'all looking for Hanky Panky?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "It's right there." And they were on the other side of the street, and we started looking around. We still couldn't find it. And so we finally just went into this taco stall, and we're like, "Hey, is this Hanky Panky?" And the guy's like, yeah, you're in the right spot. And so later on, they took us through this like back door through the kitchen, and then we entered into this bar, and the drinks there were banging. So good.
I feel like, and even if it's like kind of a speakeasy vibe, or even if it's like that one you sent me to where they just had like pipes coming out of those big ass like aqua fresca tanks full of mezcal, they have these little sleepers on every corner. Like, we keep joking about Paris, Jungle Paris, but it's very much the same way, like how you would dip in for a shark board and a glass of wine and any of the R&Ds. The same could be said for the Norte, or whatever that whatever the neighborhood that starts with the C is, where Contramar is. But like they have that same thing, like just dip in, or unsuspectingly, greatest fucking bar you have never heard of is just around the corner. It's so awesome. It gets me so excited just thinking about how I need a vacation.
Yeah, that spot was great. And then, we hit up the OG churro spot down there.
Yeah, El Churro or whatever.
Yeah, you got to. So, I mean, those are always fantastic. And it's like, I mean, it's just a factory in there. Like, it's loud as shit. Like, it's always packed. We stood in line and realized it was a line to sit inside. So we just got in a to-go line and just whipped up there. But yeah, we visited like the palace and that historic center, which was really cool. And then, our big meal, or our big place we checked out this time, was Contramar.
Yeah,
you guys got to check out. And
it's so good. It is so
good.
For anyone listening, I think I said it too. I think that was we did Sud 777 and all that, but I think Morgan and I agreed that Contramar was our favorite, like higher end dining experience.
Yeah, and honestly, for what we got, like we ended up, that was our most expensive dining experience there. And I think we paid $65 a piece. And we had these tuna tostadas.
Uh-huh.
The tuna is so goddamn fresh.
Dude,
It melts.
it is so good. And I mean, we're going to talk about why we're in a shadow ban in a couple minutes, but I need still shots and then we'll do a reel as well. But I need still shots for a post for tomorrow to talk about this episode because we can't keep posting reels because we have some folks that are reporting us. And so I need all the still shots from your dankest bites, Chris, for us to use as a post tomorrow. Because I also need a vacation from life.
I hear you. Yeah, so we had that tuna tostado, and then we didn't get any of the ceviche. We went with this octopus al pastor tacos.
Oh, dude, the octopus ceviche is fucking immaculate. I can only imagine if you throw it on a taco.
Yeah, it was fucking fantastic. And it was like, it wasn't chewy. I mean, the seafood there is just so fresh and it's fucking bomb. And then we went with the like contramar, like the fish, where they do it like two ways. They have like grilled with a red and green side.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, that's just like what one of their classics or what they're known for. And that thing was awesome. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what to say. They give you little tortillas. You can make little tacos out of that fish. But it was fresh. And I mean, to get those 3 items and 2 cocktails a piece for $65 is incredible.
So, like what Chris is saying, for those that are listening at home and still waiting for us to spill the tea, if you're looking for a vacation, maybe you're on the short list for the most hated person in Colorado right now. Check out Mexico City. Like you can, once you get down there, quite literally, you can get away with not spending over $100. And if you want to splurge, it's $60, you know, for you and a date. Like that's a steal as well. And you can kind of find yourself anywhere on that level. I know you obviously went down with a large group, so you were able to kind of do some sparse stuff like where y'all are on your own, kind of picking your own battles, and then had the big group sesh as well. So it sounds like a smashing success.
Yeah, it was. And I do think like if you want to plan a vacation and you want to experience something different, I think this one is fairly affordable, even, you know, on a limited budget. I think, you know, Airbnbs aren't expensive. A flight's probably going to be your most expensive.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, but I mean, you can get down there on a reasonably good flight.
Yeah, I mean, if you plan accordingly a couple months out, you're getting down there for under $300, and then the B&Bs are, you know, $60 to, you know, $600, however you want to shake it. But obviously, the Roma Norte area, and then the Condesa, that's the other neighborhood right there where Contramar is. Those are kind of the peak tourist visiting. And then there's obviously markets and all sorts of nice neighborhoods around, just like Colorado has, Denver has. Just multiply that by 2,500, you know, because there's 25 million people down there.
Yeah, god damn, it's huge. But
Well,
it's a beautiful city.
it really is. It's gorgeous. The culture's great. The food is obviously immaculate. And they're just wonderful people down there. We had a wonderful time. I'm glad to hear y'all kicked ass and had a lot of fun also.
Yeah, Eve, have you ever been?
No, I have not.
Use your words.
Can you not hear me? You can't hear me? I'm talking. Hold
Now we
on.
can hear you.
Yeah. Take your mute off. God damn.
I am off mute. Anyway, no, I haven't been.
All right, we're going. That's our next group retreat is to our second home in Mexico City.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear about more of these issues with the shadow ban and the
All right.
bullshit that
Well, let's start with Kip. How was your weekend? Well, let me fucking tell you. The UMS was awesome. Shout out to our boy Jonathan Rose, formerly of the Denver Business Journal. He's actually started his own thing called the Regulated State, which is a newsletter and kind of like it gives you the lay of the land of what's going on in the cannabis industry across the country. So maybe you fancy yourself an investor and you're dumbass invested in Canopy Well, you would have known better if you were following Jonathan Rose and the regulated state. But Johnny and Fritzy from the crew over at UMS, and shout out to our friends that were able to help us along the way. We had a blast. UMS was awesome. The weekend started off on a great foot. I was house sitting for us. I was holding the fort down by myself, I guess would be the best way to describe it. House sitting, probably not. And then Saturday, I went to Chef Jesus's birthday. Shout out to Jesus. Thank you for letting me come party and eat all of your tacos. There's probably some videos of me working the grill, which is pretty funny, having the white guy at a Mexican birthday party handling tacos. But at the same time, I had a blast. Chris, I was telling Morgan that the hibiscus concoction that they had made reminded me a lot of that world top 50 spot we hit in Mexico City. It was that fucking good. And we had a blast goofing off and things of that nature. Sunday, we kind of kept it casual. I'm sure I did something or another, but yesterday and today, things really hit the fan. So Monday, we did a giveaway with our partners in crime over at Ritual, and it got flagged twice, both from the story and from the page. So we were like, what's going on? Because we're not giving away cannabis. Well, somebody flagged us and reported us twice. So we got thrown into a shadow ban. So I thought if we posted Eve's video this morning, it would kind of help us shake out of that funk. We're buried fucking deep. You know who else is buried fucking deep? A lot of our friends in the cannabis industry. For those that don't know, Thomas Mitchell is a very articulate cannabis writer who'll be joining us on the podcast tomorrow. But he dropped an article yesterday, called Denver Cracking Down on Marijuana Events and Venues. 9 venues and event organizers were contacted by city enforcement officials for holding pot-friendly parties in Denver. And I know what you're thinking. Well, is this the usual suspects, the people that own places that host things? Like, we're friends with Dwayne over at Tetra. I've asked him to come on the pod. We're going to have him on the pod in the coming weeks. We've had folks that have licenses, like Josh at Jad's on the podcast. We've had folks like, Jared at Ant Life on the fucking podcast. We've done things with Marijuana Mansion, non-consumption and consumption on the fucking podcast. Well, it turns out there's somebody, a fucking asshole amongst us, not necessarily at this group chat, in our industry, in our community. The calls are coming from within the house, Chris. So what happened was these entities, the ones we named, a couple other people in our space that are party popper uppers, people that are, hosting events at third-party locations, have been noticed by the city that they've been fined. And some of them have to appear before court to discuss it in regards to their licensing status going forward and things of that nature. And because our private, because events are private instead of public, we have a pre-approved guest list, do checks at the door, things of that nature. It does not apparently matter because we have a motherfucker inside the ranks that is just ratting folks out. That motherfucker was a guest on our podcast. Allegedly, I've seen screenshots of fines that have been sent from people that were receiving the fines. Stacy and the team from Jad's have been going undercover or just seeing what's going on social media and decided to report everybody that's hosting events. Again, this is all alleged, but my guess is it's because that nobody wants to go to their fucking sports bar consumption lounge up in Adams County. So they're just trying to sandbag every single person that is in their way between what they think is going to be the business they're going to get with no other competition because they ratted on everybody else. That's the exact fucking opposite thing that's going to happen. We know that they've already reached out to our vendors, reported our posts, because I've spoken with the vendors that we've worked with. They've received threats from her personally saying that they will go to jail if they work with us. I was told about this a couple weeks ago. I kept my mouth fucking shut for the name and the sake of the industry. And then this article drops yesterday where 9 fucking people who are doing the right thing providing a safe place for people to have consumption events, private events, ticketed events, 21 plus, all of those things. You know, we've done them with, Kindle up in Boulder. We've done them in Wheat Ridge. We're getting our ducks in a row to do this next one with Brother Luck in Colorado Springs. The city of Denver has sandbagged the whole industry the best that they can. We used to be a tourism, everybody comes here to taste our weed. There's never been a fucking safe place for anyone to smoke it. That's why vapes and shitty pre-rolls are the first things out the door at cannabis dispensaries that are near foot trafficked areas, because you want to be able to have that conceal and smoke concept. You can't go places except for like one or two rare spots. One of them's next to a fucking brothel up in Adams County. And you're telling me that that's the safe place for us to go? Absolutely not. So because apparently these folks were not getting any business or not getting this business, they started just ratting folks out. And then there's other names associated, names that we won't dox personals, full names, but there are some folks that followed us on Instagram. We blocked them. There are folks that worked with our partners in crime. We blocked them. I blocked them on all the clients' accounts. The fact that they are so bad at their jobs and business that they have to sandbag small businesses or private entities hosting events not on their grounds because they don't have the leverage is so fucking preposterous, Chris. And now everybody else is having to take a fucking bullet. And it's not like Mayor Hancock was ever an ally for the industry. It's been a fuck all cause since the beginning. Like, we're losing business. We're losing the industry. We've seen the bubble burst in places like California, but we see people being proactive, like in Nevada, New York, allowing for infused restaurants or allowing cannabis consumption in the same vicinity as, a cooked meal. Like, that's a novel fucking concept, apparently. But in Denver, we can't get butt all fucking passed. And now we have a new mayor, the fucking teacher or whatever his name is. He's not helping anybody in any capacity either. So they've got a new enemy in us. Unless Mike wants to come on this podcast and talk about why he finds that these 5-digit fines for our community members are worthwhile, then I want to know, because otherwise we're just going to consider all of them enemies of the state or enemies of the community from this point forward. I'm flabbergasted that Jad's name is written all over this, allegedly, but I've talked to multiple people that have gotten the fines. I know for a fact I've spoken with vendors that we work with, and I know that they've been threatened with apparent jail time, which she has no fucking bearing on, just because they can't get fucking business from private entities. I'm absolutely fucking fuming, Chris. I am absolutely fucking fuming. It's the most cowardice way to go about it. And I don't know Stacy personally, but if that's how we conduct business, why would we want to work with them in the future? So when she chirped us for hosting an event on a rooftop saying, if you ever want to host a legal fucking party, give me a shout. I would love to work with somebody that's doing anything cool in the community, but nothing they're doing is cool. I have nothing to say to her or to her husband, Josh, ever again. We will be deleting that episode from the podcast thread because we don't want to give them any more platform, especially any that of positivity, ever again. I am absolutely flabbergasted that the best way for them to make money or stay in business is by trying to sandbag quite literally every other person in business. I am just flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. I'm not saying anything ill will towards her. I'm just unbelievably, it's baffling that it's a cowardice route. And it drives me fucking crazy that everybody seems to know who it is, but we can't talk about it. Or no, I'm going to fucking talk about it. This is absurd. And we'll talk with Tom tomorrow. We're going to ask him about the due diligence and how we go about this. But I have fucking screenshots. I have messages from vendors. I have messages from people that got fined, all saying the same persons and allegedly behind the ratting out are the same company or team. And it's not just her or her company. It's her friends as well. It's folks that she's personally friends with. Those people also work in the industry. They follow 1,000 something people. 800 of them are cannabis fucking industry people. And what you're doing is just technically spying on your, I mean, what the absolute fuck is this? Like, what kind of person does this to the industry they swear that they love and care about, are trying to grow? It's just baffling. I'm fucking so angry that now everybody has now been removed from the equation. They've added higher liability to anybody that's trying to do something cool for the community. And you've also sabotaged people like Dwayne. You've sabotaged the team over at Antlife. Folks that, you know, Aaron's coming up with Cirrus, which I know has one of the licenses, but he had to go through 7,000 fucking hoops to get that license, one that not everybody has the ability to do. And so, you know, and there's people that are closing off the doors because of politics behind it. But like Josh said on the podcast, he knew public policy. He knew government policy. So I'm guessing they knew what they were doing when they were ratting out everybody else in the industry, allegedly. Allegedly. I am fucking baffled. It just blows my mind that somebody would try to sabotage a whole community or industry just because they are not getting their bread. And I'm sorry if I said anything mean, Eve, go make sure you put a beep over it. Okay. I mean, that's what we pay you for. Please edit the podcast so I didn't disparage anybody and we keep the ethics there and the professionality there. But I'm so fucking absurdly mad that when I read this article, while we did not get dinged, you know, some of our friends did not get dinged that work in this space. A lot of our fucking friends did, Chris. And rumor has it, some of our friends that are just now kind of trying to make a name for themselves, they were getting warnings from the med department as to not do things, which means that they were already being fucking watched or already on the radar, which means that they were just waiting for the opportunity for things to go down so that they could find people. Like, who the fuck wants to work with folks like that in this small of a pool, in this small of an industry or community? I mean, Denver's not a big place. If you no call, no show in a kitchen, it's going to be very hard for you to get another job, especially if that restaurant's on your resume. It's going to be very hard to make any compelling point for us to go to that one specific smoke shop ever, fucking ever. Like, I can't fathom why anybody would ever do this.
Did you get it all out?
Oh yeah, my car broke down today, so it's at the shop.
Well, no, that was quite the monologue, and I agree with everything you say. I didn't realize that this individual had been identified allegedly, or like I just didn't know that.
I knew that she had threatened our vendors, and I kept that ho-hum because I was like, I'll be professional. It's a small community. It's an industry that we're not trying to get blackballed from. And then this fucking thing happens.
Well, the thing is that's wrong with this is, first of all, like, if you wanted to lift up your business, if you wanted to do an event like the ones we do, it takes work. And that's all you need to do. You need to work, you need to develop good relationships. And you know, what if they would have reached out to us about maybe helping them do something? You know, like, we wouldn't have said no.
I literally told them 2 weeks ago, yes, I would. When she made that stupid chirp on our fucking video, she was like, I was like, yeah, we'll work with you. No, not any fucking more.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Like, you know, you could have gotten some help and, you know, we could have ramped things up, but yeah, that sucks. And I mean, why, like, tattletaling is something so much like in elementary school. Like, nobody does that anymore. Like, that's like going to your boss behind your coworker's back and just saying something like, she didn't do this, or she did this wrong and I had to redo it. Like, nobody cares. Just stay in your lane, do your job, and typically, if you work hard enough, you'll succeed. But don't go after other people who are doing legal events and going about things legally to try and sabotage them.
Chris.
What are your thoughts, Eve?
Well, can you hear me first of all? You
We can't hear you. Your new mic
I'm
sucks.
Yeah,
no, it
whatever you're,
doesn't.
it's going to sleep or something because whenever you start to talk, we can't hear anything you say.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I mean, it just sounds really petty to me. Like I don't see the point. I don't get how harming other businesses helps your business. I don't get how people throwing their own events hurts you at all. Like it's like it makes no sense to me. Like what's the profit? And now word's going to get around and that's not going to help them. So why?
No, I
It's
can
just
I
like
can only
why?
imagine this was their last ditch effort in hopes that nobody would ever get to face their accusers.
Yeah. So, I mean, but
I'm just like,
yeah, if I had a marijuana product in their store after finding out about doing this, I'd pull my shit from the store.
I think that was their threat they held over folks that were working with what the city would call non-compliant parties, although they're all private entities. That's like if the government tells you, Chris, that you can't have a grill sesh at your house this weekend and then let us smoke in your backyard. But I am just flabbergasted that this person that is a small business owner in our community felt the need to just try to sandbag everybody else and would thought that would drive everybody to her well. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Ugh.
You want to hear some good news, dude?
Oh yeah, what do you
Lighten
got?
up the mood.
Yeah.
Guess what our friends at the Easy Vegan did?
Oh, dude, fuck, that's what I did Sunday. I knew I did something. I'm so glad you brought that up. Shout out to Alexi and Tay. Holy shit, Chris. Finish
The
them
food
off.
truck race winners.
Great American food truck race. If y'all didn't watch, it's on Food Network the whole season. Spoiler alert. We already posted on social media. They trounced the competition. And I went to the watch party. It was a blast. I love those ladies. They serve up dank food. And what they remind you is that when you see vegan, don't just think fucking rabbit food. Don't think lettuce, carrots, blah, 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 while there are a fuck ton of carrots. In fact, winning dishes. They make it a fun, creative dish, a delicious bite, all of the flavor profiles that a stoner would want, that someone that's conscious about what they put into their body would want, as well as those that are just looking for a hearty, delicious meal at a farmer's market on the weekends of Colorado. And they were an amateur against 4 pro food trucks. I mean, Christopher, shout out to the ladies at the Easy Vegan. Bravo.
Dude,
Thanks for reminding me on that. I went AWOL. My mind has been like,
Yeah.
I've been red as a beet all day, just fuming, finding out that the same person was behind all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to them. Their attitudes and personality are infectious. And no matter what you get from them, it's always tasty, but it just makes it even better when you see them smiling and laughing. Like they have a lot of love for the community that they serve.
Yeah, they're wonderful people. I would not be surprised if we see them in early 2024 in a nice B&M. And I don't mean Benz of Mercedes, Chris. I mean brick and mortar.
We'll
They're
visit. We'll be the first customers.
Yeah. And also shout out to Penelope. I know her and Long and the team from obviously both Jan Wantan and Faux King Rapidos and all of them are getting steps closer to their brick and mortar opening up. So I know it's an arduous process, but we're cheering them all on. I'm calmed down. I am now a solid 60 milligrams deep as we get into the 70th minute of this podcast. Eve, give us an Eve fact. Give us a testing so we know you're working. Okay, there we go.
And a test. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Fine. One of my favorite movies is Death Proof. There you go.
Okay. Chris, I'm gonna eat that, digest it, and see what comes out. Really see how to process this for tomorrow's episode that we're recording. Death Proof is not a bad movie. It kind of was in that Sin City camp, wasn't it? Like silhouettes, a little bit of a comic book plot line.
No.
And like, Was that not the same one?
No,
I mean, it's
I
not
don't-
visually. No, it
Maybe
was
I
the
was-
dual feature he did with Rodriguez or whatever. Planet Terror was like the
Oh
dual.
yeah, yeah, and they did like the car, like, yeah,
The
wait.
car's death proof. Yes.
yeah, okay. Now I'm remembering. All right. Well, you said fine, as if you were holding on to that nugget. Thought that was gonna be a lot better than it was.
Eve. So it's killing me now. You know we're gonna ask for an Eve fact every episode. You have days on days to build up facts. You should just, whenever you come up with a fact, just write it down in a little pocket notebook.
Be
I
like, Eve had a joke that day. I thought it was very funny. I even wrote it down.
Yeah.
She said she wanted
so
to be
movie
a
fact doesn't
news
count.
anchor.
Is that what I'm hearing? A movie
No, your
fact doesn't
favorite
count.
movie, your favorite movie counts, but
It's low
I
hanging
feel like
fruit.
we need a little bit more. Like, when you throw that in there, like my favorite movie is Death Proof. Give us like why or set the scene.
Yeah.
Well, you
What-
didn't
Is
ask.
it Kurt Russell?
I mean, he's great. I
Were
just
you
like
on a date when you saw it? Were you watching it with your family? Was it like a popcorn movie night?
Oh my gosh.
Really build it up.
Oh my God. You want to talk. The last thing you asked me for the question was like, have you ever broken a bone? And then you were like, I said no. And you're like, that's interesting. So I don't know where the level is of what you want me to say. Because if I could just say, oh, I've never broken a bone and that'd make you happy. Okay.
Well, it would have been cooler had you have broken a bone, but
Yeah,
we found that
true.
off that you had. So that's good. That's a fact that people need to know about Eve.
Okay. Well, if you know the movie, then it's a good movie. It's a badass movie. It's like a bunch of chicks beat the shit out of this piece of shit guy. And I'm all for it.
There you go.
There you go. That's why I like it.
That's really your favorite movie?
It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
What's wrong with Death Proof?
I just think it's so unrememberable. Like,
Unmemorable.
yeah, and it's just not like I had to re-look it up and be like, okay, I did see this movie, and it was mids.
How long ago did you see it?
I don't know, probably like 12
Were you
years
sober?
ago.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say give it another
The
shot.
sober question's kind of fucked up, Eve.
Well, if you couldn't really remember it, and were you on like 200
I don't
milligrams?
I don't remember what I wore yesterday. I remember good movies.
Yeah, and it's a good movie. Watch it again.
I
It's
mean,
a great movie.
look, we don't use Google or IMDb, or no, we don't use Rotten Tomatoes. We usually try to formulate our own kind of assumptions, but it seems this is the definition of mid. It's 7 out of 10. It's a 67. If I said the restaurant was a 7 out of 10, you'd be like, I'll give it a whirl, but I'm not going to it doesn't call home.
So you just said you don't go off reviews, but then you just looked up reviews to
I
trash
did,
the movie?
No, because I thought it was mid because it wasn't rememberable. Movies that are rememberable, like The Revenant was great. I remember that despite only seeing it once, maybe twice. Death Proof, I don't remember being like, you know what, I need to watch that again. That was a banger. Like when I get a good cheese stick, I'm like, fuck, I want to go back there and get another cheese stick. I'm not like driving by, I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot that place has cheese sticks. Does that make sense?
Sure, but okay. How did you feel about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I actually enjoyed that one, mainly because I knew that storyline and I liked how they took that in their interpretation of it. Obviously the acting crew was large as well. I mean, I knew Kurt Russell was in yours, but I can't remember anybody else. Like, I know who Rosario Dawson is, but I don't remember these other ladies. But like that, I wouldn't even put that in my top 5 Tarantinos. Like I just wouldn't. Would you, Chris?
No, I would say it was good because of the comedy in it and everything about the main characters in his recent one. But like, no, that's definitely not in top 5.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hate Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at all, though. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. But I mean, that one had a little bit of a foundation that we kind of already knew about. So that one may be a fair or not a fair one.
Yeah, and it was shit.
But
So
from dusk to dawn, A plus. Reservoir Dogs, A plus plus. You know,
sure.
Pulp Fiction.
oh, I mean that's probably your 1A, right? For Quentin. There, but that was just what I was thinking. I was just like, interesting. Now, if you said that that was your favorite, do you have maybe you could round out the top 3 for us, or is it just one fact a day?
Top 3 movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if let's say you're homesick and you have a password to every app, what's your top 3?
Top 3. That's tough. That's tough.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, one of your top ones is Death Proof.
Top, but that's probably like maybe top 5 or 10. I don't know. Death Proof.
You just said that was
Inception.
your favorite movie.
I said one of mine. One of
Okay.
mine. One.
Okay, Death
So-
Proof, Inception.
And Philadelphia Story.
Is that the Tom Hanks? No, that's Philadelphia.
No, and
That's
everyone always
Philadelphia.
says that. It's Philadelphia.
Oh,
Two
oh my
totally
God.
separate movies.
Whoa.
No, because it pisses me off. They're totally different. Philadelphia
Which is
Story.
Nobody has your taste in music or in movies.
No, that just automatically go, oh, the Tom Hanks ones. I'm like, no, the Philadelphia Story. One of the
With Katharine Hepburn.
yes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
haven't
But
seen
I didn't
that
look up the
one.
ratings for it, Kip.
I
So
was
I
just-
don't know. Maybe
I had
I'm
to
in the
look.
wrong.
I had never heard of it. 1940 so long ago. I mean, I know who some of these Cary Grants I obviously know. Hepburn.
That's a 7.9. So
it?
you're almost getting there.
Okay, I don't read reviews of any of my
Well, we
movies.
know
like,
that.
why would I?
I don't either. Like we watch movies and then I'm like, I liked it. I'd see that movie again. It's very binary. It's
Uh-huh.
like, would I watch that movie again? I just haven't seen this one, so I'll have to give it a looks. I mean, if it rounds out your top 3 and we know you're a cinematic wizard, I mean, I gotta go watch it.
If you don't like old movies, though, don't bother.
I don't
you know?
hate old movies like 12 Angry Men, what is it? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. We watched a lot of those kinds of movies growing up. We were big My Fair Lady folks, talking about the Hepburn family. Shout out to my mom. She loved theater. So we watched a lot of those on VHS and DVD. But at the same time, I don't know where they would rank in my top 10. If I was trying to like impress somebody that went to like some school of theater, or like someone's like, I went to NYU, I'm like, oh, I love insert black and white. Casablanca's great. But realistically, I mean, I'm pretty on the surface, I'm not very smart. So I like movies like Tommy Boy, Dumb and Dumber, Goodfellas, Casino. I think we could argue that both Goodfellas and Casino are masterfully shot and highly regarded. I also kind of like The Godfathers. I have to turn the brightness up on my TV, which I think takes away from what the director was trying to go for. But my TV's not new, so I can't see, like in some scenes, I'm like, fuck, is someone back there? Those kinds of things the first couple times you see them. But, you know, like, so I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. But I also like terrible movies like Grandma's Boy. If we probably looked that up, Chris, you got your computer in front of you. Grandma's Boy. That can't be over 25 on Google or IMDb or whatever. Like bad movies are all idle hands. It has a special place in my heart because that was like the first scary, funny movie I saw. And I was like, oh, maybe I do like scary movies. And then you watch something like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. I am out of here. I'm done.
Frankenweenie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, Debbie Does Dallas. There's a tons of great movies that were kind of just like set in the 90s that I'll never shake. And so because of that nostalgia feel, but yeah, like I could probably quote by George, I think she's sculpted. I could probably sing a couple of the songs. The rain in Spain falls mainly in the plain with Audrey Hepburn in movies like My Fair Lady and shit like that. But Life of Brian is probably up there, the Monty Python movie. So I have some range, but my top 3 are all very stupid movies. Oh, and then obviously Point Break and Top Gun are 1 and 2. Oh, and Crazy
Heat.
Stupid Love, maybe number 3. It's up there. I love The Notebook and Chocolat. The Chocolat's not very good,
Chocolat.
but you got to have a rom-com in that 3. And it used to be How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, but the humor and the comments made in Crazy Stupid Love are just delightful. And so I really enjoyed those movies. Chris,
I'll
what do you have in yours?
That Crazy Stupid Love, I'll second you on that comment about the comments in that movie. They're just hysterical.
Yeah, the Lynn Hagen joke where he's like, it's just so fun. So you're Lynn Hagen. Like, it's funny.
And what a name, Lynn Hagen.
I know. Kevin Bacon does so well in that role. And speaking of Kevin Bacon, Trimmers. That's a top 10, Eve.
That is a good one. Sure. Oh, okay. Nice. I gotta go with like one of my all-time favorites that it wasn't my favorite immediately after the first watch, but with every watch, you just love it so much more. Office Space. Like it's
Coen Brothers, right? Is that right, Eve?
I don't think so.
Damn it.
That was
I thought that
Double check.
maybe not. I don't know. But
No.
either way, that dry humor in that one's great. Obviously, everybody remembers the 2 chicks at the same time or whatever.
Mike Judge.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
King of the
the guy
Hill.
from
King of the Hill guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the what was it? Michael Bolton, just that whole conversation with the Bob. So what's your favorite song?
I told those
there's just
fuckers
so
I like
many-
Michael Bolt.
There's
I
just so many
celebrate
good
his
ones.
catalog.
It's so goddamn good. That is a really good one. And that
Yeah.
dude, that's like the main guy in that. He's kind of got that recognizable face that you see, and you're like, oh, that's that guy. He was in Office Space. Like our insert there. Is it Jason London or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember.
That's a good. I like that call.
Yeah, but that's a good one. And then like that's one I watch on repeat with like fucking grumpy old men and movies like that.
Eve, what was the first cartoon movie you ever saw that you can recall?
I don't know. That's tough. First, maybe Fern Gully. I don't think that's right though.
That's a good one though.
Fern
Yes.
Gully was ahead of its time, talking about save the environment before it really.
Calm down, Rachel
Yeah.
Maddow. We're talking about cartoon movies.
He's right though. It was kind of
I'm
depressing,
surprised-
wasn't it?
I'm-
I don't know.
I'm surprised the freaks haven't taken that movie out of stores for being kind of indoctrinating kids to be pro-environment.
Recycle.
Yeah, fuck.
Hey, when DeSantis loses this primary, he'll be back to just regulating Florida like a Nazi state.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as far as epic movies go, like obviously the old ones, Godfather and all that. But then definitely like Heat was just an
Ooh, what a
epic
good call.
shootout.
Yeah, that
Epic
scene in
shootout
downtown
scene.
LA is a good one.
Oh, it's incredible. And then I'm trying to think of, so this is a strange one, but
All my movies are terrible, but good. Like terribly, like haha, like bad funny, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And Eve's over here like, oh, this cinematic masterpiece from 1941.
You said like the top 3. I have a wide range, okay?
give us
and
some
I
of
like-
the range. I need a fucking smile.
Eve, do you like House of Flying Daggers?
Yeah, I mean I saw that forever ago. Kung Fu Hustle, I think, is really good.
What's your favorite Pixar film?
Oh, that's tough.
What's your favorite anime movie?
I don't really watch a lot of anime. I
Really?
think I've only seen like 2 anime movies, maybe.
Huh.
You thought I was an anime girl?
I didn't think you were an anime girl, but I thought you would
Mm.
have a little I know you have more range than both Chris and I. So I kind of would have thought you had a little bit like Akira or something.
I watched Akira.
Okay. I
And,
think everyone's seen Akira. That may be the one
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
all
yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
What's your
And,
favorite Pixar, Kip?
No. My favorite Pixar? Wally.
Come on, Eve, what's yours?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Wally. I mean, Toy Story's great though.
Yeah, I feel like that I mean, it's hard to pick against Toy Story realistically, because literally number 1, 2, and 3, I think all won an Oscar, didn't they? Or they won whatever you win for the
I mean, they were all
Grammy.
good, but 4 was depressing.
I don't know if I saw 4. Is it like tearjerker?
I mean, it just gets kind of heavy, and I don't like it because they're like all split up during the movie from what I remember. So like, I don't think I'd ever watch it ever again. Like, I don't. There's no 4th movie in my brain. It doesn't exist.
Oh, that's not too bad. If you can wipe it away like I'm doing this week, then you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad we ended on a positive note. Eve, if I went a little strong in there in the middle, please cut it out. If I didn't, leave it in, because we're going to do round 2 tomorrow with the author of the article. We're going to dive into, he obviously doesn't have to divulge his sources. We don't have to divulge ours, but it seems fairly unanimous across those in the industry. And it just hurts your heart. It hurts your heart a lot. It feels like someone just like they had their hand on the scale the whole time, or they were trying to like slow the progress of the community, and it's just infuriating. But y'all brought me back. Shout out to our friends over at Incredibles, our friends at Wana, as well, because I ate their edibles on this podcast also. And also shout out to our friends at Ritual and Breckenridge, because I'm about to find a nice reprieve and a nice rum cask whiskey with a nice little cylinder rock or stone of ice. And I'm going to pack that pipe so fucking deep with flour that we got from Meraki, Chris. I'm just going to nuke myself and get ready for tomorrow. Wait for the call from the mechanic.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me vent, y'all. We'll be back here tomorrow with Sir Thomas Mitchell. He's not actually knighted, but he's doing the Lord's work out there, and he's letting everybody know about the injustices going on in the community. And we also need to find a way to get in and speak with one of the people in the mayor's office, Chris. Eve, can we start reaching out, see who from the mayor's office is willing to come and speak perhaps on the unjust system that's in place here, that's hindering the growth of the industry, as well as somebody that wants to talk about, you know, the justifications for these fines for people that are hosting private events on private property, and how this is all justified in their eyes without somebody just narking in the background. So if we could get onto that, that'd be really cool.
Sure.
I'm
I'll look into it.
I'm also going to be writing a strongly worded email tomorrow, because I will be without a car. So let's get ready to work. Eve, thank you so much for taking the time. Chris, thank you so much for joining us again. Next time we go to Mexico City, we're going to be scouting podcast locations, because that's got to be our second home. And we're taking Eve with us.
Eve, you like
Hey.
tacos?
I do like tacos.
Great. You're
Where's
gonna
your
fit
favorite
right in.
taco spot, Eve? I know you haven't been here too terribly long, but since you've gotten here, has anybody knocked your socks off?
No.
Very death proof style tacos, just sevens.
How dare you? You mean
Okay.
10s? If they were death proof tacos, they'd be 10s.
Oh, we got to find you a DP taco for sure.
Yeah.
Death proof tacos are now our new 10. If you don't listen to the pod, you won't get it on the posts. Well, Eve, we'll go do a family supper this week. Thank y'all for letting me yell for an hour. It's been pent up all day, like a powder keg. I just wanted to fucking yell at the television, but I had to make sure that we continuously say allegedly, and that we cut out anything where I may have gotten a little overheated. I mean, I'm fucking mad, but the edibles keep me calm. So thanks to our friends over at Starbuds, Emerald Fields, and Standing Akimbo. We wouldn't be stoned without y'all. Until next episode, stay high, stay hungry.
Don't be a snitch.
Oh, toodaloo.
Damn it, Eve. Cheers.
What?
Cheers.